About 2 weeks ago, Phuket Word put out this video claiming that he has a flat earth explanation as to why Mount Rainier is able to cast its shadow up on the bottom side of clouds. And I do want to clarify one thing. He calls this a sunset shadow. This actually happens during sunrise. So how this started was at the end of the year, Phuket Word put out this video. Clouds are not lit underneath on a flat earth. Now, I lived most of my life in Seattle, so a few days later I made this video using Mount Rainier as an example. And I'm not certain if he saw it or not. He has me blocked on his channel, but I know other commenters made references to these photographs. But let's see what Phuket Word has to say.
One substance with the highest reflection. Yeah, we can see here fresh snow and old snow is very, very reflective. So this is a perfectly viable scientific explanation for this observation, where we have snow on the surface reflecting sunlight up to the undersides of the clouds.
So he claims that since snow is highly reflective, it gets up to 85% for fresh, not so much for old snow, down to 42%. But he calls this a perfectly viable scientific explanation. Well, it's actually more of a hypothesis, so let's see how this would work. I drew this diagram to show how this would work, and we in the globe community agree that the flat earth sun would always be higher than the clouds. We should never see it down here. But anyways, we have Mount Rainier over here on the left. We have a low cloud layer just almost at the summit, and we have the distant sun over here rising in the east. So we would have the sun ray coming down. It would have to hit snow somewhere to the east of the mountain, and then that way it could reflect back up to the bottom of the clouds. So let's see what Phuket Word's evidence is.
So here again we have these clouds that appear to be lit from underneath. But the variable that people aren't taking into account when they use this as some kind of proof that clouds are lit from underneath by the sun is the fact that this is taken at a time of year when there is snow on the ground.
So yes, a couple of the photographs did have snow in them, but some of them were taken earlier in the fall when there isn't snow. And Phuket Word even acknowledged this. Here's a photograph taken on October 26, 2011. Phuket Word used this article as proof that there was snow on the ground. This is October 5th, 2011. First snow of season falls at Mount Rainier. Well, this is at the Paradise Ranger Station, which is at 5,400 feet. So of course we always get our first snow of the season in the upper slopes of the mountain. And if you know anything about Seattle, we are noted for our rain. We are not noted for our snow. So here's a diagram to better explain how this works. We got Mount Rainier over here with Paradise 5,400 feet, and we have what is called the freezing level, which of course during fall and winter drops low enough that we get snow in the mountains. Pretty simple concept. Everything above the freezing level will be snow, everything below is rain. And as I said, Seattle doesn't get much snow. We're considered a temperate marine climate. It doesn't get too cold in the wintertime. So it might be only 3 to 5 times a year that the freezing level gets low enough on the western side for snow to fall. And another thing is Mount Rainier is so big, it can create its own weather. It's not unusual to get snow on the upper slopes during the summer. Once I was with a climbing party, we were making an attempt at the summit. We were at about 11,000 feet and we got hit by a blizzard, had to spend the night on a glacier. We had over a foot of snow dumped on us. Paradise was recording wind gusts 50 to 60 miles an hour. And if you ever want an experience to contemplate your own mortality, I would recommend this one. This is the picture of me. I'm at Crystal Mountain Ski Resort, which is to the northeast of Mount Rainier. And of course this is in the dead of winter, and as you can see there is a ton of snow on the mountain. But look down here, this is the forest. These trees do have a coating of snow on them, but you can see how much darker they are, and they're not going to reflect very much. And of course in the mountains, most of the mountain area is going to be forest. So here's a Google Earth shot of the area. We have Mount Rainier down here in the lower center. I've got an arrow showing where the shadow is usually cast during fall and winter. This is where a lot of the photographs are taken. Tacoma's about 40 miles away, Seattle's about 60 miles away. And of course you can see the Cascade Mountain Range going north to south through the center of the state. But if this is going to work the way Phuket Word says, what we need to do is look over here in Yakima in eastern Washington, where we've got much flatter terrain. Here is eastern Washington, and what I did is I drew this distance line from the southeast heading up towards Mount Rainier. This would be the general direction of the sun rays in the winter time. And down below I got an elevation profile of that line. So you can see that Yakima and Kennewick are definitely much flatter terrain. But look up here, this is the average annual snowfall, Kennewick, 1.2 days a year. So out in this area, we don't get much snow at all during the winter time. Yakima, 15 days, the reason being over here, they're much closer to the Cascade Mountains. And this is from the Yakima Air Terminal. This is the monthly total snowfall in inches. This is for the winter season of 89 to 90 all the way to 2012 and 13. Look at the month of October. 1 year they had measurable snow. 2011, absolutely no snow at all. So sorry Phuket Word, your hypothesis is debunked. During this photograph here, there was no snow on the ground to reflect light upward. Here is another photograph, Friday, October 9th, 2015, and you can even look at Mount Rainier and see that it hasn't even received the first snow of the season. What's left up here is the glaciers. Compare that to the photograph of me at Crystal Mountain. Here's another photograph, Seattle sunrise from West Seattle, taken on September 29th, 2016. This is looking across Elliott Bay. You can see the Space Needle to the left over here. And lo and behold, we see the clouds lift from underneath. So here's a great comment by Marshall that gets to the core of the problem. Phuket Word. I go skiing every year. I have never seen snow reflect light back at the clouds. It only seems to happen at sunset and sunrise when the sun is at an angle below the clouds. This also happens when I visit the desert too, and there is no snow or water for miles around. So Phuket Word writes back, Marshall, go back and look at the reflective index for sand. It is quite high too. So you can only laugh at this. I mean, Phuket Word now admits that there's not always going to be snow. So like every good flat earther, he just moves the goalpost. And suddenly reflectivity below 50% is going to be acceptable. 37 to 44 for sand, which is dry, probably white beach sand. Here's for the desert, 26 to 29%. But Marshall is right, and this is exactly what I see when I've seen this phenomenon. So here we have sunrise, and the sun is down low, and it is casting the shadow of Rainier up onto the clouds. Later the sun gets higher. Now it's starting to get the rays parallel to the clouds, and that shadow starts to dissipate. And then the sun rises higher, and at this point it is often possible to even see the sun because it is shining down, and there's a larger gap between these lower mountains, so you actually see it through this gap. So the reality is this is not possible on a flat earth. This is much better explained by the globe model. To end this video, I will answer the question that Phuket Word had at the beginning of his video. Flat Earth researcher or Flat Earth debunker? Which one are you? Well, I'm just an observer looking for the truth. And in the case of the video that you just presented, you made a claim that snow could reflect light, and this could be the reason that Mount Rainier is casting its shadow up onto the clouds. Of course, I did the actual research and found out that there was actually no snow on the ground during the time period of some of those photographs. So yeah, my observations support the globe. So yes, I am a flat earth debunker.